powered by Riverside.
Welcome back to our next episode of the World's Beautiful Game podcast. As always, with you, Goose, Will on the other side here. A lot to go off of as we are a week and days away from the start of the World Cup on June 11th. We will go over real quick today the Champions League final, obviously, which everyone was watching this last weekend, and some of the games that are going on, friendlies around the world as they prepare for the World Cup. We'll talk through some of the smaller nations that people have maybe looked over as we've gotten closer here with this 48 team World Cup. We'll also obviously go into the U.S. as we usually do. We'll also talk some of the bigger nations that played each other, Belgium, Croatia, and then we'll just kind of touch base on each of those, and we'll see how the conversation goes today. But anyway, so off the top of your head, starting off Champions League final, Will, what are your initial thoughts as we dive into that final that we saw?
It was as I guess I expected, low scoring, a little more boring. Obviously, not Bayern PSG esque, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. If you're a fan of the game, it wasn't bad. If you're a fan of just watching high scoring, it was obviously terrible. But it was good. They definitely Arsenal brought it to them quicker. They were a little more aggressive, and then obviously they pretty much controlled the whole game. So it was theirs to lose, which obviously we know how it turned out.
What
But
do you saying? Arsenal control the game?
I think for the most part, yeah,
I mean, they
as
PSG
as
dominated possession though.
yes, but they were still playing into. They shot 97 shots on and like two on target. Obviously, I'm exaggerating,
It was
but
one on target actually.
yeah, exactly. So
Havertz goal.
it was absolutely atrocious, which means in the sense that I feel like Arsenal pretty much dictated the game as far as defensively is what they want. So yes, even if PSG dominated possession, they still weren't dangerous with the ball. So that's what I mean in the fact that I feel like Arsenal they played into Arsenal's game. They defensive waiting for it and nothing, and then pretty much capitalize on that quick play that Havertz scored, which again even a couple of surprises with Havertz starting and not Goikarez up top. So um, yeah, I think it was Arsenal's game to lose, and in the end, obviously they did, but I don't think PSG was able to do what they have been doing. And Luis Enrique, yes, he was able to make adjustments and everything, but it went down to penalty kicks, which could have been anybody's game. So I gave the upper hand to Arsenal on that one
Yeah, but
because of the gameplay and their strategy.
interesting. Both goals came off of mistakes, really. The one that Arsenal got and Havertz, obviously made the run and scored a golazo because it was a golazo. It came off of a random deflection that just kind of landed in his path. He took advantage
Hmm.
of it. Was able to get away from the defender, which is a little surprising, considering his injuries this season. But yeah, put a top shelf goalie had no chance where he shot it from. It was kind of like Landon Donovan in that World Cup where he just blasted it right in front of the goalie. And even for PSG's goal, I mean, it was a penalty, obviously, on a poor defensive play from was a Mosquera, who just the ugliest tackle you'll ever see. Not that it was bad; it was just a really bad. The way he kind of dove in there was really weird. Didn't give himself any opportunity to win the ball. The way it was just late, I would say, in the tackle. And then yeah, PSG couldn't find a way. Arsenal made it very difficult. That's what we were. I know we all talked about it. I don't. I think Arsenal approached this game as they did most of the second half of their season. Very methodical, very organized. Made it very ugly for PSG to try and get a goal. And in the end, penalties. We kind of. I didn't want to see them. I know you didn't want to see them either. But atrocious. Eze first, and I saw. Funny enough, I saw on like one of the social medias. He did this for Crystal Palace also. Same
Yeah, I
technique,
saw. Yeah,
missed terribly the same way too. You'd think a player like that would learn from his mistakes. just kind of
They
giving
do.
you.
Remember, this isn't. It's not like that was the last. That mistake that he made at Crystal Palace is the last time he took a penalty kick. They practice
That's
these in
true.
practice all the time. Gabriel stepping up. It wasn't just kind of like, oh my God, what is he doing? No, it's more of like he probably does this in practice a ton of times. And at that point, maybe it was a little nerve wracking where he's like, you know what? Let me go into the fifth slot because I am the captain, and we've done this in practice, so it should be routine. I should know where I'm going. I should know what I'm doing. So it's not like it's oh my God, why would he have done that? It's not like a wow,
It's
like a
just how he
spur of the
approaches it.
moment.
Yeah, I
But
got you.
so I get it, yeah. Just because, yeah, which it is terrible, it's ugly. But again, everybody has their own form. Remember, there's, everybody does things differently. Um, and if it works, right, nobody says anything about how ugly it is. It might be like, oh, but he scored, right? But obviously he missed it and it was terrible, so it just looks like shit. Um,
I took what, one pen in middle school. Oh no, not even in the game because we never went to penalties. But I know when we did like to see who would score the penalties. I remember like, and I now I understand why people make this point. It's like you should have your decision made before you shoot.
oh yeah,
Don't make that decision like in the very
don't
last second because
don't
it's just
second
gonna
guess
turn out
yourself.
that
Yeah.
way.
Hmm.
And that's like that tiny experience a long time ago for me. I do remember that though. I was trying to be smart about it and trying to see where the goalie was going to go, and I just messed it up. But that's what it seems like he does. Like he just waits to the very last second to make a decision on where he's going to go with it. Or if not, it's just poor technique in how he shot it. But and then Gabriel coming up fifth spot. I know we kind of had this argument, at least in my
I know you don't
opinion.
like it. You said defenders shouldn't
I'm
be.
not a fan of defenders shooting, at least in the first five. Like in the first five, all those attacking players on the field, and crazy that's the person that comes in to shoot the last penalty to give yourself a chance because he had to make it to keep going,
Yeah.
and I think the thing that gets me the most now is not even the fact that he's a center back shooting a penalty. It seemed like he went to no look shoot the ball. That's what the replay, or at least people were asking, like, is that what he was doing? I thought that was
Try to
weird. I
channel
don't know.
Zinardinho.
I don't. Did you notice that? Because I saw
No,
that.
I
I was like,
didn't.
what in the hell? Yeah, he literally right before he goes to shoot, he just looks the other way. I was like, what the hell? So all the things you probably shouldn't do to shoot a penalty shot in the most pressurized moment of your career, for an opportunity to stay in the game because they obviously had to score that to keep going in the pens. But yeah, no, I mean, not the most exciting game, like you said. It kind of had more shades of the PSG
Bayern second game.
right? Because they tied that one. But yeah, no,
I
it
mean,
was
one
good.
of one
It
of my
was good.
biggest.
I don't have a complaint besides it. I wanted a little more, shots or offense, a little more shots on target, more excitement,
Yeah.
and that, yeah.
Well, one of my biggest things, and it just goes to show Saka. Everybody loves, at least all Arsenal fans love to glaze
Starboy.
Saka, and what has he done? He did absolutely nothing. He's done
Subbed
absolutely
out
nothing.
65th minute,
In
right?
any
70th minute?
important game, in every important game, I looked at something that came up, something like that. It was like 4 different matches that were important matches. He's nowhere to be found. So it just goes to show that they want to make him to be such a big player, and obviously it goes to show that he's not. So that's another
You
thing
know
to
what
look at. That
I found interesting, and I'm sure you did as well. You know how we were talking about where I mentioned the statistics of how much time PSG's players have played this season compared to Arsenal's players? I kind of understood Arsenal, them having to make substitutions because their players are gassed from a long season. But Vitinha, Dembele, um, Kvaratskhelia, all of them came out because
Yeah.
they couldn't. They were either hurt or tired. I looked at the weather for Budapest that day. It's not like what the World Cup's going to be. It apparently it did when the game started. It was a bit warm, but when I looked, it didn't seem like it was. It was like in the 70s by the time the game was over. So it doesn't feel like it should have had as big of an impact. What do you make of that? Like PSG being so fresh, not being able
I
to
don't
continue
know.
the
Like I said,
playing. Their best players are out.
yeah. So could
for
the World
defense.
Cup have something to do with it? Again, if they go over, if they spend that extra time and they gas themselves and then they get hurt and the World Cup's coming, does it have to play? I don't know. But again, I'm not gonna dismiss it. I don't care what people say. I feel like that was a big decision because exactly when do you sub out your biggest players for the final of the biggest cup? That's literally and people like to argue back and forth, which is better, World Cup or Champions League. So, the fact that it's arguable, that's again a big cup. So to me, yeah, what goes into effect or what goes into play? Because Dembele, I think he had a little knock, so you could see him limping. So fine, understandable. But everybody else,
I
that's
mean,
why
Vitinha looked like he
he
was
was gassed.
crawling onto the
Yeah.
stage
Well,
for
yeah,
for
yeah.
the
So
trophy
he's
celebration.
gassed.
So
So
yeah,
again, yeah, like they were like okay. So I don't know. Which Vitinha also missed the game winner that just went over the post, which would have had my 2-1 prediction. I can't believe we missed that.
we both were really close, man. I was close for a long time in that game, and
Mhm.
I was like, no fucking way. There's no way this game is gonna actually wind
No,
up
I
1-0
knew it wasn't.
Arsenal. I
No.
mean, but it seemed like that's the way it was heading, the way that the
Yeah.
game played out, right? It's just
No,
crazy to
yeah,
think.
exactly. Because like I said, Arsenal played PSG played into Arsenal's hand. Arsenal controlled the game the way they wanted to. Like I said, those shots going on, not even being on target, didn't do anything. Again, you take that all day. Sure, shoot 1,000 shots if you want. If not, if you got one on target, that doesn't do. So yeah, it's just um, unfortunate for Arsenal. But they're in their rightful place. Second place is typically, it was bound to happen.
Bottle job
Yeah,
accomplished for the
yeah,
Champions
exactly.
League.
Because I mean, I guess the penalties, like I said, it's unfortunate. It's anybody's game at that point, so it just sucks that that's how they went out. But hey, it is what it is. PSG.
I mean, at least
Um,
they have domestic,
yeah, they got
triumphs, and
something. Yeah,
they
they
got
got a
something
monkey.
in
They
the
got the monkey off
season.
their back.
They
Yeah,
didn't completely waste the season
yeah,
again, so
yeah.
they have that to hold on to at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
And they made it to the final, so and they
yeah,
lost in PKs. Lost in PKs. So it's not even anything like, oh well, they made it to the final and they got beat down. So it's worth noting at least this time. It could have gone either way.
yeah. So we'll kind of leave it on that note, right?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, nothing
It
else to
wasn't the
talk
most
about.
exciting, but
Yeah,
yes, PSG back to back champions. So congratulations to them. Uh, it was kind of the favorite anyway going through. So the team that everyone
yeah.
expected to win won.
I think
Uh,
PSG should have definitely thanked Mbappe in their speech. You
I
know.
yeah, I believe so. I believe Mbappe has a big part to do in the PSG's now being successful.
Hmm.
Eh, crazy to think. So as we move on, we'll now kind of shift gears, and the domestic club season's over. We want to kind of jump into some of these friendlies that are happening since we're so close to the World Cup. Huge shout out. We'll start with the smaller nations in these warm ups.
Hmm.
Just kind of getting some wins, some positive momentum going into this World Cup with a lot of people really kind of throwing shade at how many teams are in this World Cup, right? With there being 48 now instead of the 32. But we're seeing that some of these countries are wearing their heart and their country on their chest, and pounding that and going into these games and really taking it to. I know it's friendlies. We know it's friendlies, but I think it says a lot, right? Because what more do you want? You've mentioned that the U.S. should have kind of played some of these layup games to build that confidence going into a World Cup, as opposed to getting beat down by teams that were better than them. But in one of these matches, you mentioned Algeria beating the Netherlands 1-0. That's obviously not a CONCACAF nation, but a couple of the CONCACAF nations did get some
Yeah,
wins.
Haiti getting
Haiti
New
beating
Zealand, which is
4-0.
yeah.
Yep.
So it's New Zealand has experience in playing. So yeah, that's a big win. At least it shows the CONCACAF is not as weak as people say because everybody's looking at Haiti. Well, that whatever group they're in, they're gonna get beat down. So with the 4-0 win, even if it was New Zealand, who's not a huge team, but at least I mean it helps Haiti kind of build that confidence to go in, who hasn't been in the World Cup since '78, I think it was. So which is cool to see.
Yeah, I think for us, we always have to kind of. I'm not going to say that we defend our confederation where we root for our teams, right? Because obviously we're Guatemalan, so we root for them. and obviously they didn't make this World Cup, but had a great run before.
Except Mexico.
Except Mexico, yes. So obviously they didn't make it, but some of these smaller island nations, which have like 25 people on them, are making it. We do understand also that some of these nations are having players that are of European background because they're born there, but they do have family that are from these countries. But still,
just like Portugal's had Brazilians and stuff like that.
no,
So
I'm not knocking it. It's a smaller country that is smaller countries that are putting 11 players out there that can compete against anyone. And I'm kind of glad for it because I think in all these games that we're going to watch, you already know what's coming because these people are playing for their nations. It's kind of what we hope happens with our team that we root for. And you kind of you take that into every single game and you play until you bleed, right? Like that's the hope that you want these teams to play with. So what was the other one? Cape Verde was the
Cape
other one
Verde, yeah, they beat Serbia 3-0. So that's again another small team from off the coast of Africa that again isn't one of the big teams from coming from over there. So to see them, Serbia obviously has experience and they have players, and so that's another big upset, surprise. I'd say surprise. So we'll see how they do in the World Cup. Another small country, Curacao. I don't think I've seen them. I don't know if they've played yet. I didn't see their results. I was looking, but
no, I didn't.
But
I don't think they've played yet. But looks like Congo got a result against China 3-0. Is that? No, wait, that's not. No, that's not soccer. What the hell is that? Actually, no, it's not. Looking over here, Wales tied 1-1 with Ghana. Interesting. Two teams that Ghana hasn't been as strong as they've been in the past, so that's an interesting tie there. Georgia with Kvaratskhelia, but they're not in the World Cup, but they tied Romania 1-1. Belgium beat Croatia 2-0, so it's an interesting one.
I did watch that game. I did watch the highlights. Croatia just kind of looked.
I mean, they're aging, right?
Well, they look flat-footed. Well, I mean, freaking Modric had a beautiful shot that got saved.
I saw.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal save. So that could have easily changed the game. But to me, it's just Doku. Doku's that game changer because even that first goal, it was him pushing the line, and I mean, it was a terrible ball into the box. But again, anything can happen in there, and it fell to I think it was Tillemans who scored the first one. And then he was just, again, he had the highlights pretty much to show him having a couple plays. So I think that's still going to be Belgium's problem. That Belgium does not look dangerous at all, except for Doku. Doku's the only one that looks like he's gonna. So again, is Belgium gonna be another team that's supposed to always do okay because they have decent players, but are they going to be able to get anywhere with it?
Looks like that game. The odds were in Belgium's favor, so it's not a surprise that they won. I did see the goals are from Lukaku and Tillemans. Tillemans had a strong end to his season.
Yeah, he was just in the box. Villa. He was just in the box and later it fell off to him and put it into the corner. I think the second was PK. So.
Surprising for looking over the lineup for Croatia. A lot of players that are not even playing also because Guardiola did stop playing for City. He's not getting used anymore. Kovacic, bench player for City also. Perisic, older. Modric, older. I mean, I know they still play pretty well, but that's definitely an age squad there. So interesting what that's going to wind up being going forward and what they'll look like in the World Cup because their best player, beyond a doubt, is still Modric, and he's going to retire after this World Cup. At least that's what he said. So interesting to see there that squad. Let's see for Belgium. Belgium has names, man, and
they always do. They always have the names.
Goal, Onana, and the defensive mid, Tillemans, the Kuiper, Salamakers, Doku, De Bruyne, Lukaku coming in to score a goal. Mounier is still there. Witsel, surprised he got called in. Castagne, older also. Interesting,
Yeah.
interesting squad there. Oh, and our boy Senny Lemons, obviously as a backup keeper. Unless Courtois dies, he ain't coming
No,
into that game.
exactly. Yeah, he's not.
But I mean, good for him to get that World Cup experience, right? Because I think being
Mm-hmm.
there
The
still
training, for sure.
part of the issue. But let's talk really quick about the Netherlands losing because I know we were looking at that right before we came on. All playing with all their star
Yeah,
players, all their
it's
big names, losing to Algeria 1-0 is actually very interesting because it's kind of their trend, right? I mean, I know against in the last couple World Cups they kind of step it up and they had some great games against Argentina. They the U. I would know they didn't, but the game against Argentina, which is the meme now, with Messi, que miras Bobo, is that the
mm-hmm.
one? But interesting that team with Virgil in the back, he's declining so fast. Like I didn't see whether or not this was his fault or not, but losing to Algeria is
No, it
interesting.
was it was pretty much it was 86-minute goal. They were stunned, you know, as even it says in the tabloid, stunned by Algeria. So it was just they couldn't get it going offensively. Um, but it was more so that, and player of the matches went to Zidane,
Oh,
Luka
nice. The
Zidane. So yeah,
keep.
yeah. So
Well, that tells you a
Zidane's
lot.
son. Yeah.
That tells you a lot coming off of most of the time. That rarely happens to the goalie. That's a nice goal though. Cut
Yeah.
inside, top left
Well,
corner.
Algeria, nobody to sleep on because they're similar to Morocco in the fact that they got players that are not too bad. So Algeria's picked it up. I mean, again, they produce Zidane, whether he's French or not, but he's Algerian, and obviously his son playing there is says something. So they have players that can
Wait,
play together.
did they play in the Netherlands?
Yeah,
Holy
that was the
crap!
last game. Yeah, in the Netherlands too. Yeah.
Damn, that's a terrible send off. I know their bus is
hmm
here in Dallas, so
They're playing one more game here. Yeah.
they'll be pumped for that. But yeah, I'm sure those fans are a little worried seeing that because like I'm not knocking Algeria, but if you look at that squad
Yeah,
side by side
Netherlands should
on
be.
paper,
Well,
Netherlands is
there
still a
was
favorite,
a
one of the bigger clubs that you expect to do more,
It's like a
right?
mathematician or something. I forgot, an English guy that he's apparently picked the last correct 3 or 4 World Cup winners, and he has the Netherlands winning this World Cup, and that doesn't. Yeah, so he's been correct about the other ones, but I think he's finally going to be wrong here because I don't see that happening.
I don't think that's anyone's favorite to win the World Cup.
Yeah,
So
no.
interesting to see how much money he puts on that bet.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he does. I think he's just
Probably
he just
probably doesn't, but
statistician, but
I'll trust the octopus before I trust him at this point with that pick.
well, he's gotten
Just
3 or 4
uh,
in a row, so you can't say that
sometimes,
he's
yeah, but sometimes it is just luck, though. I mean,
not sure. I mean, yeah,
I
three or
don't,
four, three or four
I
World Cups in a
don't,
row.
I don't know how much Moneyball, because that's kind of like Moneyball when you look at it with baseball,
Maybe,
right? Like how much
but
of that is actually accurate.
hey,
Sometimes the math works, but I don't think math. I mean, maybe we'll see.
yeah. So yeah. Other than that,
Um, any other one that you were looking at?
for Brazil, yeah, I watched the Brazil Panama highlights. Beautiful golazos, and to me, it's just important because everybody's still kind of talking about Brazil. It's not Brazil anymore,
I
and
do,
even if it's
I
you
do.
say exactly.
I say it all the
So
time.
So the fact that they, even if it is Panama, but they're still in the World Cup, so it doesn't matter. And even if it's a smaller team, they still dominated that game. They played well. Um, it was just they looked. I don't know if it's maybe Ancelotti that has them that chemistry playing because that's what's been missing. There's been a lot of individualism and no more team play as the old Brazil because obviously the old Brazil individually were phenomenal, but they knew how to play together. So maybe Ancelotti can find the right tweak to kind of get them going. Igor Thiago showing that pretty much João Pedro is not needed in this one at least. Casemiro coming good in a goal. Just yeah, the team just looked good overall. Again, I know everybody's well. It's Panama, but yeah, again, that's the point. They played in the Maracana as a send off in Brazil. So yeah, that's just it's good to see. And again, that's what I said. They need to play smaller teams to build that confidence. We're obviously the U.S. is going ballsy, and it paid off so far. with.
Well, let's get to that after. Yeah, but no, but I hear you. I know
like Panama right now. Panama's playing their last game, and they're playing against the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, and that hasn't been an easy game for some of these teams, so it's a little surprising. But I understand where you're coming from. They've taken that route of, hey, let's make sure that last one is going to be a confidence boost so that we can kind of get our gears going and get to where we need to be mentally to start the World Cup, right?
Spain's playing Iraq tomorrow,
which is a World Cup team. So I can't. I know it's much easier. Spain is definitely a favorite in a game like that, but let's see what comes out of it, because I think the hardest thing for a lot of these teams is just the defensive organization when you're playing a team that doesn't expect to win. Is that it's hard to break down. You need that one magic moment, one pass to get the one goal to win the game, because that's how the World Cup will play out. Much similar to like the Champions League final. A lot of these games are not going to be exciting. A lot of these games are going to be the smaller teams just being.
You don't know that those smaller teams might be exciting. The smaller teams might freaking play a 4-4 game. You don't know.
You're not wrong, but you don't expect. Like, the expectation is that won't happen
because of the names.
You'll get surprised. Yeah, you'll get surprised because of the names. And we hope, as just lovers of the game, that we get to watch games that are just exciting throughout. You know, you hope you don't see like 6-0, 5-0, because that would just be terrible. And that's not what we want. So hopefully all these games that are motivating these teams to play well do kind of get them going, and we do start seeing excitement from game one, right? South Africa, Mexico to start, and then
rematch.
The U.S. the rematch of the 2010 World Cup, Bafana. And you just hope it kind of just continues, right? Every day you see more and more of that, because that's what we want. Just excitement, just a lot to talk about, and just being able to kind of just get excited for some of the smaller teams, even just the golazos that'll probably come, because you always get some each and every game. So
and then I guess before we transition, one last shout to Canada, who still has a U.S. coach, which beat Uzbekistan, which you said we struggled against. So that's 2-0, which is a promising sign for them. Another CONCACAF team. I
was trying to remember if it was the beginning of Pochettino or the end of one of the like backup coaches that we had, but I remember them actually being quite a bit of a challenge, a strong team, a fast team, organized team.
The center back kid that plays for City.
Kusanov.
Much.
I remember that game being a challenge. I know the U.S. won eventually in the end, really late on, but it was a challenge. And clear here, Canada also making maybe not light work, but getting a result, which is big for them, as they're also a host nation. So shout out to another CONCACAF team doing their thing in this last couple of games as they prepare for the World Cup. But let's move on to the big topic of the conversation, as the U.S. Big win against Senegal, like you said, 3-2. The Federation deciding to take the opposite approach of playing some of the stronger teams that will be in the World Cup, to mentally prepare and I guess really understand what they're up against and how they stack right up against these teams, because that Senegal team, Sadio Mane, NGI, like you're talking about some players that have
every player there. I mean, off the top of your head, maybe not know, but when you see him, oh yes, I know this player. Yes, I know. And so
I will say they didn't have Semenyo, because obviously he ended the season with City playing a lot of games. So I'm sure I know he's in the squad, but he wasn't playing or he wasn't there. But you're talking about big. It's a squad that it was definitely a challenge. They're the ones that actually won the AFCON. Besides,
no, they won. I don't care. I don't care about that bullshit. They won.
It was a strong game for them to play, and the U.S. came flying off from the start with Pulisic shutting the haters, shutting the noise, getting back to his form that he was at the beginning of the season with Milan. 7th-minute assist to Dest, who scored a golazo, also coming back for the U.S. strong. And then getting his goal in the 20th minute to make it 2-0 for the U.S., who looked to be cruising until they got scored on right close to the end of the first half. Sadio Mane, of course, and are you really surprised that guy scoring goals for that country? And then let's talk about the first half first, just your thoughts, because it changed from one half to the other. We're seeing the same thing that we've seen from Pochettino every window, just no consistency. A different starting 11 again. Obviously, no Richards because he's injured. But your thoughts on who the starting 11 was, and then how that first half played out?
Well, yeah, we spoke about this last night when we were playing. The biggest thing to me is the goalkeeper. I don't care. Like I said, I don't think it's time to experiment in these games with your goalkeeper anymore. There's literally the last two games before the World Cup starts. Freese, I'm pretty sure everybody knows Freese is the starter. So the fact that he didn't even play and you brought in both goalies to see if maybe they can prove something to you. But again, to me, that's dumb. That's what practice is for. If they can't prove it to you in practice, um, then that's it. Or again, even if you want to see something from one of them, you're not going to play both of them. You start Freese in that game because that's going to be your starting keeper for the World Cup. You let him get his motions in. You let him see everything. You let him see the field, talk to the players, and kind of get that going. And then in the second half, if you really like, if you feel comfortable enough, and you say, okay, I've seen what he's got, and he feels comfortable enough. Cool, we'll sub him out and we'll play, and then maybe play the second keeper in the second game. You don't play both backup keepers. That to me, that's just absolutely dumb. I don't understand how Poch at this level doesn't know that he should be starting. That his keeper needs to start to get the confidence and to get that pretty much. All right, cool, going forward. So I don't care if it's them telling him, well, yeah, you're the starter, so don't worry about playing. No, to me, it's hey, you're gonna play because I need you to see and I need you to see feel how everything's going on. This is a good team. I want you to make the right decisions, especially with your starting center back hurt and not playing. Cool, then I need you to be in there to kind of control and help out. So that was my biggest thing. I was confused too.
I was going to
Yeah.
ask you because I mentioned this in I think the last episode for the reveal of the team with Matt Turner getting the number 1 jersey, and maybe it doesn't matter, maybe it does. Do you think
Do
there's
we think
anything?
that Turner's starting?
That's what I'm going to ask you. What I'm going to
I
ask you
figured.
is based on the first half that he had, and do you think there was anything he did this game that could have propelled him over Matt Freeze because of his World Cup experience that he has, and then just he looked sharp this game compared to the last one. I would say that.
Yeah, but no, I don't think. I think Turner's time is done. I don't. He was great for when he was. He was okay when he was, and then he slowly had that downhill, and he just kind of, again, that last performance, obviously, other than this one, which yeah was okay, but again, Freese is my starter, and if Freese isn't the starter, it's gonna blow my mind because the biggest thing is gonna be obviously we're concerned with Turner. Nobody's confident with him, and if he makes one single mistake, it doesn't matter. Everybody's going to be all over and gonna be like, "What the hell?" And then Freese hasn't made the mistakes like that to not give him that start. So I know
It,
numbers. Numbers. Do they play an important role? Sometimes, but again, at the same time, Turner's coming back.
yeah,
Sometimes
I know
even with
it's not a club
goalkeepers,
team, so it's a little different.
even with keepers, I know with players like Neymar getting the 10, obviously, even though he's not really going to play, it's more of a respect. And maybe Free said the same. Hey, man, you already played in the World Cup. You're older. I respect you. Want the one? Cool, you can take it. I'll take another number because keepers is the same thing. So if they, that's why I don't think it's too big of a role, but it is a little.
it's interesting though.
I'm not concerned. I'm not no because I'd maybe be a little more nervous if then he brought in Freese after, and then be like, wait a minute, why is also free? Why is Freese also playing? But Freese didn't play at all. So to me, if you're not playing somebody, then you're starting him. You're not gonna put him on the bench and be like,
So
oh,
I'll throw this at you because I heard it in this podcast I was listening today. Marcelo Balboa
I heard him. Yeah,
and
I, well not
Jimmy
today, but a couple
Conrad.
days ago.
They both, or was it Jimmy or Charlie Davies? They were like seeming to be like thinking that Turner should be the starter and not Freeze. They were
Well, I don't know because
confused.
Marcelo Balboa said it a couple days ago. That's what I don't, which said the same thing that I was thinking. So I
Well,
don't know that he said it now. So
his thought was like Turner should start because he has the World Cup experience. And Charlie Davies seemed to be on. It was him or Jimmy Conrad, one of them. Anyway, so that's why I brought it up because I thought it was the whole thing is kind of interesting. Now I will say I think everyone also assumes that this next game, Freeze will be the starter for the 90 minutes, and this is gonna be his game to get going
mhm.
for the World Cup, but we'll see. But we'll move on from the goalkeepers since that's
Yeah,
obviously
that was just my biggest concern so far. But
I'll tell you what I was excited about with the first half, and then you can piggyback off of that or just kind of pick your own. Pepe, I was excited to see Pepe and his role in this team because he was in a very interesting position. Um, I think he started over Balogun, so he was technically like the 9, but he seemed to be doing a lot on the outside, a lot of Harry Kane style dropping back and being a part of the play because he was part of one of the assists, the one to Christian. But before that, he kind of had the hockey assist, so he was the guy that got it to Christian, that got it to Dest. And I thought, based on what we've seen him not get any time at all, and I don't know how much it was injury, that Pochettino was just kind of preserving him because he had to play with his club. But that was the most exciting thing for me. I think the formation being a little bit different was kind of cool in the first half because I wasn't sure what was happening, to be honest with you. It looked so different. I know the Berhalter also, I feel like, played well enough to open some eyeballs and people realized like, hey, this guy's actually decent. There was one mistake that he made, but other than that, I feel like he does what I've seen him do is he doesn't back down from a challenge. He chases everything, but he also has he has that ability when he's outside the box to whip one in, and he had, I think, an opportunity at one point that he didn't get, but it looked good. So Pepe and Berhalter to me stood out. Christian, obviously, I'm not going to go with the ones that obviously did well, but I think those two, like, I just wanted to shout out because I think they had a pretty good first half.
Yeah, no, for sure. My biggest thing was just, again, the formation once again and who's playing where. Cool, we won, but again, is that going to be our final formation now? Now, is the next game, is it going to be a new one? That's what pisses me off. Like, is it because we're going to do this fucking stupid thing again and again and again and again, and then when we lose, we're going to be like, oh, da da da, and all the excuses. But again, because you don't have something set. So is this new formation with Dest pushing up and then playing up there, and then again, we just have different. It pisses me off. Yeah, I'm glad, and I guess my most exciting thing to see, though, with obviously stop trying to criticize because it feels like that's what just the U.S. Poach pisses me off. But I guess my happiest
And remember,
observation or
because
the first half. But the happiest moment or the moments that got me excited was seeing Pulisic step up and do what he needed to do against a team like Senegal. So it was beautiful to see him score, and not only score but get an assist, and just kind of at least be the dangerous player that everybody expects him to be, he hasn't been. So it was good to see, not just that, but even the first half, the whole team looked like they were meshing well and they were playing well, and there wasn't mistakes that was just like, why are, that they looked like they were going in half-assed. They looked like they were full of energy, and the team, that's what we've been wanting to see from them. So it was good to see that in the first half, and to see them pushing forward and not either not just kind of playing it relaxed or not looking like they're not hungry. So that's what I love to see. I love to see the hunger that we've been wanting to see.
And the only negative I would say about the first half, besides all the things with the changes, was the goal they gave up. I think obviously Chris Richards not being there, you could definitely see it in that play because Mane makes a run that everyone knows he's going to make, and Tyler couldn't keep up or just didn't make it there on time. But it wasn't his to really take down. Like we were, I'm not trying to down talk Freeman because he had a good game also, but like that where that run was made, there was two of the center backs should have had that run. They should have seen that run. They should have been able to at least cut it off at some point or body him into a corner. So that was the one mistake that I saw, that both goals were mistakes. Let's just put it that way. And we keep giving up goals, and that has to stop. But obviously this constant changing of players is not going to help. So.
With the center backs we have, it won't anyways. But again, we obviously were able to.
Yeah, we still got a result in the end, which is great. So that was good. Even making 10 changes in the second half, 10 changes in the second half, we still held on to a result. We had a winning goal. So obviously, surprising. So now we'll kind of move into the second half. Surprisingly, McKennie, Balogun didn't start. They were part of the second group that came on. Everyone except Aronson, Haji Wright, and Matt Freese played that game. So interesting.
And Aronson wasn't there because he's married, right?
He was back. He just wasn't in one of the trainings. He was on the bench.
Okay.
But no, very interesting. Two players that you expect to be in a starting lineup get brought on with a second group. Basically, the players that you expect to be the ones that come in to make an impact. Gio started the first half,
Hmm.
and you're kind of curious now. What does that mean? Because also Tillman came in as a sub as well. A strong group of guys didn't start that game for the U.S., but when they came on, guys that Tillman played phenomenal. I love how he plays when he's on it. McKennie gives you exactly what you expect from McKennie. He was part of that buildup in that Tim Weah cross
Hmm.
into Balogun, who got the goal.
I love Tim Weah. I keep talking about it. You kind of aren't on the same
I
page as me.
just
You're
I
on the same page as
this
me. You said you're not.
no. What I'll tell you on Weah is I feel like Weah is he has amazing skill. I think he's obviously he's got the athleticism, great, but I just think sometimes like he gets lost in games, and I don't know if it's because he has to do a lot of defensive work, um, but more often than not, he he maybe give you one or two good moments, and then you get nothing else from him. I feel like that's where I am with him. I don't. It's not that I dislike him. I just
I
like
mean, I know you
this.
don't dislike him, but I don't. Yeah, I
But
don't.
like like Des, Des is in that role, and Des is every time he's doing something. You know what I mean? And if you're gonna have a guy there doing what, if you need somebody to do something for you that's not the strikers and not a midfielder, and Weah's gonna be playing that wing back role because I don't think he's playing right wing like in what we appear to be a formation. But what do you make of like those strong players coming in off the bench and not being part of that starting lineup?
Well, yeah, McKinney definitely blows my mind because there's no way he's not a starter. That will be
I mean, Balogun.
even that. That's a battle because Pepe has obviously showed in his league too. Yeah, I think Balogun is the starter, but at least he made a battle for it. But Gio Reyna, I don't care. He played 2 games at Dortmund or at Mönchengladbach.
Mönchengladbach.
Um, So and McKinney literally was one of the most important players for Juventus. So the fact that I don't care, he's not starting over him. So to see that happening, I don't know if it's to give Gio confidence because he made the team now, so to stay confident throughout the tournament and have that going forward. But he definitely shouldn't be starting. And again, we talked about it before. I love Gio, but definitely shouldn't be a starter, especially over McKinney. Um, so that definitely threw me off, but that was the biggest one. Pepe starting over Balogun, okay, cool, but I think it's just to see what he's got, kind of prove a little more, and then Weah coming in, fine. Yeah, yes, Dest over, of course, over Weah because, and yes, yeah, obviously you saw how he created and he was doing. So I do love Weah and I think he played well. So I think he has an important role to play. But yeah, that's my biggest thing other than like as far as guys uh, that didn't start would be the keeper and McKinney, or to me blew my mind.
Do you think it was
But
more impressive that we got the win or that we were able to score 3 goals against this team?
both, both.
Considering what we've seen the
That we
last two
got the win, not
windows.
that we scored. Yeah, not that. Well, actually, it's hard. It's both because we haven't scored and we couldn't get wins, and especially with our defense being questionable and our goalkeeping being questionable. So that's why it's like, oh well, you could say win, but then at the same time, like, well, we did score 3 goals, and we don't do that often because we haven't had that from. And again, our strikers weren't the main focus
Well,
on the goals.
this is the
So
first time that we've seen the attack be what we expect it to be
yeah,
based on
well,
club
we hope
form.
it to be. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
based on club form, right? Like
I wouldn't say I expect it to be, but
two strikers are hot to end the season.
yeah,
Balogun, what, like 14 goals in the last 15 games. Pepe also, I think, wound up scoring like 8 and 8 in at the end of the season. So with obviously Pulisic kind of having a down 2026, that wasn't much of an expectation, but that's an added bonus to what
yeah.
those guys up top are already doing. And McKennie could potentially get on something on a corner or a free kick.
Hmm.
And then now seeing some of these other guys getting brave and from outside the box taking some shots, I think also a good thing, right? Because that's, I think, one thing that you hope someone coming from deep will do. Tillman can get you goals. not that he's done it often for the U.S., but he's a guy that can do it. I know he had a dip in form with Ten Hag coming to what's he at now?
Ten Hag?
Leverkusen. Yeah, so
Who?
he kind of
Ten Hag? Didn't Ten Hag
Hag.
get fired already from Leverkusen?
yeah, but like ever since he got there,
Mhm.
Tillman's game just tanked. So yeah, a lot of more exciting stuff than not. But I think we do like to point out
Awesome.
the things that need work and the things that we are still as fans and just people who've played soccer before just don't understand. You as a goalkeeper, I can get it. I know me as a center back, I know how important it is for a goalie to be screaming at me from behind and let me know, where I need to be and my positioning and just kind of leading that line from behind, right? So we just excited for the result. We can't wait to see what
One
happens
player we
against
didn't
Germany.
talk about is Zendejas too.
Oh, yes.
Zendejas definitely, which is obviously one of the bigger headlines because he's quiet, and obviously Luna was the big talk. Zendejas hasn't talked, but I liked how he came in. Again, he has that flow. He had that confidence. It seemed like he was a little nervous at first. There's a couple plays,
He
but
had a
then of
shot,
course,
yeah, and he
yeah, it makes sense. I can
whiffed.
only understand why he's nervous. I mean, he hasn't played much, and there's a lot of pressure now that he's the one that kind of went in over Luna. So,
And
but I like it.
he did mention he was very surprised by the call up, so I'm sure
Yeah.
that played a big part into
Yeah.
how he was feeling going into this game.
So
Good
I
thing
just
for
hope he
him though
does.
is he knows all these guys. He grew up with Christian,
Yeah.
with Haji, so hopefully nerves are gone for next game and he gets to
I
kind of
hope he
have his
gets a little more
moment.
play
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah, I hope so too.
It's awesome.
Big shout out to him for making the squad. He's 28 too. I didn't even realize he was on the older side.
This is pretty much
But he was doing his thing at America, and I almost feel like that's maybe why Pochettino wasn't calling him in because he was trying to respect the club needing him in their
He's
campaign.
number 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of things that obviously we're not going to ever know because he's just not going to share.
It's exactly.
And I think his approach to this is really tournament style mindset. I think he's actually looking at this to say, I know I'm not going to be able to use the best 11 every game because players are going to be too tired or not at the one. I'll just,
but
you
yeah.
feel free to disagree. I think that's kind of been his MO this whole time is that he's trying to figure out the best, not just one team. He's trying to figure out the best sets of teams that can play and still produce at the same level as we've seen in the first halves of all the games. Because that's the one thing that's happened in these last couple of windows is great first halves, terrible second halves. This last game wasn't a terrible second half. It was decent, and even though, but he intertwined those big players. Obviously, he's not going to be able to make 10 subs, in a World Cup game. It's only going to be 5. But in that same token, I think having that knowledge of like what players are playing well together, who he can bring in, or I think he's thinking a lot about going deep and how to keep not only players fresh, but also having a really good combination of players every time they play a game, no matter if the guys are starting or they're coming off the bench. I think that's his thought process, and I know that's not the most normal thing that you think about when it comes to a World Cup, but I think he's kind of thinking outside the box is my thought on what he's been doing. I know you don't like it. I haven't liked it until I think I've kind of thought about what he may be doing.
Yeah, I completely disagree. I think it's absolutely stupid and terrible because it's the United States. Now, go ahead and do that with Brazil. Go do it with Argentina. Go do it with Germany. Go do it with Spain. Go do it with France. No, like that's the stupidest thing to me there because I feel like if that is the case, that is just beyond dumb. How are you going to tell me that the United States needs to do this, but then you're telling me that the biggest teams that have won the World Cup, that have been there, that have been at this level, that are the teams of teams, don't do this, but we need to do this? Like, no, that's just fucking stupid to me. So if that's his thought process, I'm not on board, and I think he's a complete idiot for thinking that way.
Oh man, no, yeah, I'm just trying to be open minded to what his thought process is because it seems like and I go back to the quote that he made months ago, like early in the process, where he's thinking about the best team and not the best 11, because it feels like this team maybe needs some of that because of what's happened with us not qualifying in 2018,
Hmm.
with us having a subpar 2022. We really didn't have a great World Cup, and it's been done with the best 11 players or best,
Well,
European players. And I think
yeah.
his thought process has been that. His thought process has been like, we have to start looking at some of these players that are going to do some of the things that a player like Gio Reyna won't do. Gio Reyna, for as talented as he is, there's going to be times where he's going to slack coming back, but then you have like a Berhalter there to save him, right, and do that thing that Gio may turn off at one point, and that, right, because you've seen him practice. So I think that's his. I go back to that quote, and I think that's where I'm kind of like thinking about what his approach is. And I get it. It's and most people are going to think it's
okay.
terrible.
I'm okay with the best starting 11, like with the best team, not the best starting 11. I'm okay with the best team. Yeah, because individually the best starting 11, you put them on paper, cool. These are my starting 11 because they're the best players. No, I don't agree with that because obviously if you can't mesh with the team, if you can't play well with the team, if it's not working, then it's not working. Then you need to put in your best 11, and I totally agree with that. I don't agree with changing. All right, my best, like every week, every game, the best 11 changes. There's no way. That's just dumb.
Yeah, I think that consistency and the knowing where your teammates are going to be does play a big part in what you're talking about. I do get that. I'm kind of hoping whatever he is doing works. We make a deep run, and then we just call him a genius for it, because that would be fantastic. And I'm kind of hoping that that's what comes of it, because he didn't have international experience. He just has playing experience. He's played in World Cups, and maybe that's kind of, he's deciding to take a completely different approach than what the traditional way of like making a selection for a World Cup team is. But
we will see.
We will see against Germany, and that's coming up here this Saturday. A lot of other games going on as well, so we'll keep watching for those. Was there any other topics that we had? I couldn't even remember at this point, but excited that the U.S. got a win. That's always a big one, especially after the last window, and we hope for another one for the send off in Chicago. I hope these players really wear their pride and their heart on their sleeve, and they really they put in the work. We've seen that this last game that they can make it happen, but super excited for what's to come. And man, we are almost there. We are 8 days away from the start of the World Cup. We've been counting for 4 years plus years now since they announced it being here in the U.S.
Sucks that we can't really go to the games.
Crossing my fingers that I can find a ticket at some point to go to a game, because that Croatia-England game, I think, is here in Texas. So I'm hoping that I can somehow manage a way to get a ticket to that if I can. But if you're listening, thank you for listening. Again, as always, subscribe, hit that little button on YouTube. It doesn't cost you a thing. Follow all the socials. We're on Instagram, TikTok, putting a little bit of everything out there for everyone in different ways. The Panini Sticker Challenge is coming to an end as we approach the World Cup. We're only 8 days left in that to see if we can complete the book. So keep following that day to day. Anything else from you, Will, before we say goodbye to everybody?
No, that's it. Let's see. Let's just see what these next game. Let's go Knicks. It has nothing to do with it.
Let's go Knicks, baby.
Yeah, the game's going. So let's go
all right.
watch that.
Have a good night, everyone, and see you soon. Happy World Cup.
Powered by Riverside.